I've shared many a video covering warframes and weapons themselves, giving you the tools to clear rooms, hold objectives, and rack up the kills per minute. Today, let's focus on how your primary weapon slot could be a support or utility tool, enhancing nearly any warframe or main weapon you pair it with. I'm TheKengineer, let's solve a practical problem. There are a lot of options we can select beyond our frame and main weapon. We've got 3 core weapon slots, our focus school, heavy weapon, companion and its weapon, and even the gear wheel. Seeing as covering all of that at once would be a 4-hour lecture, this video is dedicated to the primary options. The most universal option for a supporting weapon is a status primer. This is a weapon designed not to kill, but to set up enemies to be easier to kill with your main attack. Most status primers will utilize the viral status effect, due to its huge health damage bonus to basically any target. Others can be set up for heat and corrosive for armor reduction, magnetic for shield and overguard debuffs, cold for its control effect, or impact to raise mercy thresholds. On rare occasions, radiation can have a place, such as disrupting aura effects. Usually, a status primer will want to avoid using slash, electric, toxin, gas, or blast. Their goal isn't to deal damage, so a status effect that is all but entirely about doing damage is a waste. It's no good hitting an enemy with 100 toxin procs if the combined damage is still a rounding error. Beyond the status effects themselves, the sheer number of unique types you can apply will increase the damage you deal via condition overload or its gun mod variants. Those types of buffs only count the unique status effects and have no concern for which ones you use. The other part of status primers, after type selection, is their application. This comes in 4 components: status chance for more status effects per hit, multi-shot for more hits per shot, fire rate for more shots per second, and multi-hit capabilities. This includes using punch through, chaining, or radial AoE. Multi-hits means more targets per shot. By combining these effects in your modding, you can significantly increase the potential output of your status primer. However, any buffs to damage, including pure damage, fraction damage, and critical hits, is again a waste of time. When modding a status primer, wasting slots on dealing damage is only taking away from your weapon's usefulness as a primer. For broad usage then, this is what a fully invested status primer mod screen looks like for a rifle, or like this for a shotgun. In this setup, I've gone for 2 60/60 mods for viral, the class-specific magnetic mod to include that in the status options, and otherwise enhanced fire rate and multi-shot. For specialized weapons like the Cedo, you may need to adjust that slightly, such as dropping fire rate in favor of a wider selection of status types or other buffs. The remaining mod slot is a matter of adapting your utility to your weapon. For single target primers, consider using punch through to enable hitting lines of enemies. For AoE primers, consider using AoE increases with Firestorm. If you expect enemies to survive for a while after being status primed, such as when using cold to slow down groups of enemies, consider using status duration to make the effects persist. Do note that on shotguns, the set mod Hunter Track is an objectively superior status duration mod to the base version, fitting more cheaply for the same effect. On rifles, however, Continuous Misery is both cheaper and more powerful. Outside of some niche augment application, this is broadly all you need to consider for modding a primer. The final choice in your primer lies in the arcane. For primaries, you have 3 arcanes of note to pick from. Primary Crux is the relatively new staple for primary status primers. On hitting weak points, this significantly increases ammo efficiency and status chance. You get to fire more liberally in low ammo situations, and you apply an enormously higher number of status effects. It's easy enough to obtain from the Hex or 1999 missions to make your primary sing. Alternatively, primary Frostbite can be used to increase the multi-shot of the gun. This is likely not going to provide as much status priming value, but it is more useful where the primary comes with valuable force procs that cannot be enhanced by status chance. Crucially, only primary Frostbite is desirable this way. The near mirror listing in primary Blight only scales from toxin procs on your primary weapon, demanding a status type that's very bad for status primers. Primary Frostbite, on the other hand, requires cold, a good primer type, and stacks up from cold applied by other sources, such as your companion, so you can even skip cold on the primary. For a status primer, Blight just sucks. Beyond those 2 arcanes supporting priming, one other arcane allows you to add a second roll to the gun. Primary Exhilarate reacts to impact procs your weapon delivers and provides you with energy regen. A single impact proc this way generates 1.2 energy per second for 10 seconds, a total of 12 energy. If you're delivering a deluge of impact procs, the 3-stack cap on the arcane will limit how much value each individual proc is giving you. Still, you'll be enjoying a solid 3.6 energy per second regen. This is nearly 3/4 of the value given by the Zenrake focus ability, Wellspring. Use this arcane if your primer weapon has a very high status output with some innate impact, enough to trigger the effect that is, or if it has forced impact to guarantee the trigger. Of course, if you're flush with energy already, the bonus isn't worth the slot. The other non-damaging primary arcane is not worth using as a support tool. Primary Obstruct offers to jam enemy weapons on landing a magnetic proc. While initially it seems useful for control, the effect only lasts a few seconds in a restricted area and goes on to a 10-second cooldown. While usable, you are more likely to get better value out of the huge status chance of Crux or the supporting energy of Exhilarate. It can help if you're struggling, but I would lean onto other more reliable solutions. Outside of status primers, with the optional energy regen thrown in, there are a handful of other specific weapons that stand out in terms of utility. Also, if you got this far into the video, share your status effect hot take in the comments. I'm curious to see your thoughts too. If you love your melees, the Rauta, Mitre, and Daikyu may be right up your alley. The Rauta has a unique perk to build melee combo with every hit, allowing you to rapidly max or remax after a heavy attack. As this is just an innate perk of the weapon, you can otherwise build it as a standard status primer and get double the benefit. The status output isn't incredible on this weapon, but still enough to set you up while getting those combo bursts in. The Daikyu is specifically used in combination with Nikana's with its Amalgam Daikyu Target Acquired mod. It grants a simple 3% lifesteal to Nikana's, which includes the Skier Jati obtained from the Sacrifice quest. As the Daikyu is a bow, it's not great as a status primer. However, the forced impact that its arrows have, on both the normal and prime versions, can still be used with Primary Exhilarate for energy gain. Or, just use it as a typical damage blow when facing foes outside of melee range. The Mitre then is an odd inclusion. Neither good for status priming, nor does it have forced impact. What it brings to a melee situation is the augment mod, Neutralizing Justice. This augment makes the Mitre Blades destroy nullifier fields in a single hit 90% of the time. Don't ask me why D didn't make it 100%. While advanced melee setups usually are long-reaching enough to avoid worrying about nullifiers, you can still find it handy to tear away the bubbles with individual shots, removing the risk of being nullified if you get close enough to hit with melee. This is useful if you don't want to fire multiple shots into nullifier bubbles or aim for the generator drone. There's no build needed beyond the augment and multi-shot. If you want to know more about the Mitre and its incarnate form, I'll link that video below. Finally, out of all the primary supports is the Speargun category. This whole line of weapons is designed as a utility class with gunfire as an afterthought. Most speargun options aren't worth consideration, but two stand out in usefulness. The first is the Scourge and Scourge Prime. When thrown with your alternate fire, they emit pulses of energy that wraps around enemy heads. Shooting into these balls of energy has a very high chance of redirecting the shot to the enemy's head, greatly increasing the ease of headshots. This works especially well to charge headshot incarnate secondaries, or to use and maintain headshot related perks like the Nell's infinite firing ability. This won't magically add headshots to enemies that lack them, however. The other notable speargun is the Aphentis. Thrown at a surface, it projects a very small buff field, buffing reload speed, fire rate, attack speed, ammo max, and reducing recoil. This buff enhances you and your allies that come into the field, applies to all primaries, secondaries, melees, and archguns, and persists for 40 seconds after making just one kill from inside the buff field. Again, for both spearguns, their buffs are innate effects rather than any modded result, so there's not a build needed for them really. Equipping them as primers is a waste of time given their nature. They're entirely best as buffs you chuck down, more akin to casting an ability. While many other primary weapons bring various quirks to the table, these options are the core choices to use when the primary isn't the core of your build. Whether you need weapon buffs, status overload, energy gain, or melee support, there's a good chance there's a primary to enhance your loadout. If you want to see me cover secondaries and more in a similar fashion, let me know down in the comments. You can also support the channel on Patreon or join me live on Twitch with the links below the video. That's all from me for now, so as always, proc rooms, rock boons, and fight well, Tenno.